Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Our next guest, when not being activated, is crushing life. She is the star of one of my favorite shows, Summer House, currently in its 8th season. This is one of the best seasons of all time, which I hesitate to say because it is kind of on the shoulders of someone else's personal pain. I believe they're filming the reunion tomorrow, so this is going to be a warm-up. Please welcome my personal favorite influencer and newly minted real estate mogul, Lindsay effing Hubbard.
Oh my
Lindsay.
God. How long did it take you to write that intro? That was incredible.
That was really quick, actually. And I cut so many different little things. I was like, sandwiches. She's tired of sandwiches.
Yeah, you got
a
lot of like Lindsayisms in there.
Oh, yeah.
Especially relevant ones from this season.
Well, the last time I talked to you was on a Zoom interview 3 years ago, I think. And it was when you showed me your 5-year plan. Remember the plan?
Oh, my God.
And I got so excited because I was like, this is an artifact. And you were holding it up. And it was after the Stravy season.
I know, we should put that in the clubhouse.
Well, that kind
Timeline for life.
Yes. But I mean, so much has happened since then. And this season, I guess,
my God.
After watching this week's episode, the main thing I think people want to know is, do you stay in touch with the Workus twins?
I'm sure that's the main thing they want to know.
No. Listen, my main question to you, aside from podcasting, how are you?
Oh, thanks for asking. I'm doing really well. You know, I have a lot going on.
Yeah.
You know,
But you always seem like you have a
real
lot
estate.
going on.
I do. I like to keep busy. And especially when it's busy that I'm finding a monetary benefit from, you know, like buying the house in Nashville and renting it out to a bunch of people that can party and probably
by the way,
trash
Hub
it.
House. That's why I was like, is there going to be Hub Houses in all these different little hubs?
I mean, hopefully if I make enough money to keep buying houses.
So I could go rent Hub House in Austin right now?
In Nashville, yes.
Nashville.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wait, so you're staying busy.
No,
but
I'm staying busy. I'm in like a really good place. I mean, the only thing that I am really looking forward to is this season being done, because it's just like not like a normal thing that humans and people have to go through, is, you know, reliving the most traumatic event of their entire life. This was legitimately the most traumatic event of my entire adulthood. And it was humiliating and it was exhausting. And, you know, I did my own personal work to heal from it. And then next thing you know, you're slapped with watching it week after week.
And then hearing
you have to
our
go
opinions.
into do confessionals and talk about like how much you can't wait to marry someone, but then you know that you've already broken up with them. And, you know, then you have to do media interviews, and then you're, you know, watching it week after week, and then you have to go tape a reunion. So I'm really looking forward to not having to continuously relive it over and over and over.
That's what I wrote. It's like an emotional marathon that you have to go through. And tomorrow, the reunion will potentially be one of the last pieces of this whole kind of experience for you.
The last step in the whole process.
And it's going to be one of the biggest parts of it, I feel, because these things are like Super Bowls to Bravo fans. But as a person that actually lives this experience, what's it like? Like, how will you be tonight? Like, it's not like Christmas. You're not looking forward to this. What do you expect to get out of this? Or do you have hopes going into this? Because you've done these so many times, but this is different.
I'm just going to speak the truth. You know, I think I lived this. Like, this was my personal life. That was not for show. This was not for TV. Like, this was like a relationship beyond TV, at least from my perspective. And so I thought. I don't know about the other guy.
Yeah.
From what I see, he's laying the groundwork and planting the seeds, and
you
seems to have known what he was about to do at the end of the summer.
2 weeks ago, we had the episode where, you know, like, who the F is Lou at this point? No offense to Lou, but it is interesting, that scene. And you wrote an Instagram comment of Carl should be a gardener.
He should go into gardening.
He should go into gardening because it seems like he was planting seeds. But it is interesting as an audience member to watch that, because I don't dislike Carl and I so appreciate what he's going through in his sobriety journey. But it is now seeming interesting that there's all these scenes happening that you had no clue were taking place. And in this week's episode, to watch you get sat down in the couch in your place.
Oh, no,
that
it gets
you shared.
worse. It gets worse. I've seen everything at this point because, like you said, we're taping the reunion tomorrow.
Yeah.
No, it gets worse. The amount of
I don't expect that it's going to get better.
The amount of things that I was unaware of and was held from me.
Well, and that's the thing, because this is somebody that you trust and your best friend. So even if we take the sobriety out of it, it is getting very intense to watch. And the last two episodes have been really centered around you guys. And we'll have a little bit of Wes and Sierra and are they hooking up, or Paige and Craig. But really, the whole crux of it is on you guys, and you feel it. Like last week's scene with Lou and his mom, and then this week, the scene, how it ended, where you stepped away from the dinner and he looked like he was about to lose. Like he looked so scared and nervous. And you're just looking at him like looking at me, of just trying to take in what he's saying.
Right.
Because you can't piece it together, it seems like.
Well, no, I couldn't, because he had started that conversation like really upset, thinking that I was upset. You know, Amanda told him I had been crying in the bathroom to her and Paige, talking about abandonment issues and how my abandonment issues were triggered because of feeling like his mom, Carl's mom, was rejecting me, and like that was triggering my abandonment issues. And I was just crying about the abandonment issues, right? Carl then is like, you're upset with me. You're upset with me. I'm like, I'm not upset with you. What do you mean? I'm so confused. So the whole first half of that conversation, I was extremely confused. I had no idea what he was talking about. I'm like, I'm not upset with you. Like, why am I now on the defense defending myself for not being upset with you?
Yeah.
And then he's the one who has a bomb to drop on me, right? And he's the one who has this big information that he wasn't telling me and holding back. He still didn't give me all the information. He still didn't tell me the full truth. I have no idea what he's about to tell me. I'm trying to convince him I'm not upset with him. I'm not upset with you. I'm not upset with you. And like, I'm having to console him, like for him dropping this like crazy news on me.
But
and
Lindsay,
like,
us
that's
men are idiots. Like we're so soft. Like that's why, I mean, it's like we are soft. I'm not even joking. Like we're soft individuals. We make the dumbest mistakes, all of these things. But Carl, it's interesting because it seems like he built this whole thing in his mind. He played it out 30 billion times and then realized now 3 weeks later that, oh no, this is all on camera and I need to tell Lindsay. And it's really interesting because there's this shot that you're not a part of. He's in the bedroom talking to Amanda and Kyle, and he goes, well, because of this, and the show breaks the fourth wall. We pull out and we see 4 people in the room with cameras, and realizing like what you guys have to deal with. On top of this being your real life, you are also putting it out there for us to view, and it's a real mind fuck. I can't imagine doing this on camera.
No. And what my dad can't imagine is, as a parent, going on national television. And like my dad is like the most even keel, like happy-go-lucky dude who lives in Florida and is retired and likes to go fishing all the time.
Has Carl's mom reached out since?
No.
Have you reached out to her?
No.
No, not that you should. But I just was curious.
Neither of his parents reached out to me after the breakup.
It is interesting, though. It's kind of how society treats women in general. And, you know, if you kind of even go to another Bravo show, Vanderpump Rules, the Ariana of it all, who Ariana and Katie were on Watch What Happens Live this week. They said Team Lindsay. I know you guys just went to lunch. And I was really curious, when you guys do get to lunch, does Ariana ever share any advice on how to deal with heartache in the public eye?
No. I mean, I think that we both had to deal with it in the same year and in both such very different ways.
Yeah.
You know, like similar in the sense that we're all on TV here, but different in the situations and how we got to those situations, right?
Can we at least give Carl credit that he didn't start a karaoke band? He didn't go on tour. That's huge.
If you want to give Carl credit for anything, I'm go
totally
for
joking.
it.
I'm no. Horrible joke. But no, the thing is, I
wouldn't be surprised if that's what he thought was an appropriate job.
He could open for Tom Sandoval. Yeah. Wait. Well. Yeah. What's your obsession with people having jobs, Lindsay? That's the other big question.
Well, it's one thing to sit there and pay for like a very expensive wedding, but how are you going to pay for it? Like you have to have the money to pay for it. It's also another thing to talk about, like, okay, like we're going to start a family, but how are you going to pay for the family? Like we live in New York City, and you know, I don't.
No, these things that you were asking,
I don't think
they were
that's
totally
like
normal.
It's a normal thing to ask your partner, like what their life plan is and how they, you know, plan to support and contribute financially. You
said this brilliant thing on the Summer House After Show, which I really, really love. It's such a great companion piece on Peacock. But you said this thing that just was another reminder of, this is who I've always been. This is it. This is who I've always been. I've never swayed. Carl knows who I am. Carl knew who like, and that was such a reminder of like, yeah, this is who I've loved on 8 seasons of Summer House.
Correct. And in fact, I think that I've grown and gotten better as a person. And if you actually really pay attention to all of last season 7, and then all of this season so far, when was the last time I got activated?
Yeah.
I don't get activated. I didn't get activated at all last season whatsoever one time.
Kyle was getting activated
this
all the time.
season, I haven't gotten activated. That's growth right there.
That is growth.
Okay.
That really is growth.
So in fact, yes, I'm the same person, but I'm only getting better.
Yeah.
And he knew who I was. He had 8 years of friendship to study me as a human, and he still chose to put a ring on it.
Yeah.
And then expected me to change.
Yeah, no, I do find it interesting, though, because you've always presented such a strong front. You've always been that person.
Well, I've always been very hardworking.
Yeah.
I've always been a soldier and a warrior. I've always been, financially independent. I've always been the one, who stands on my own 2 feet and paves my own way. Everything that I have, I've earned for myself, financially and otherwise. So why would he think that I wouldn't push to you're supposed to challenge your partner? This is the person you're going to spend the rest of your life with. You're about to walk down the aisle, marry them, and start a family with them. Yeah, like your decisions about where your career is going it's going to affect me. And I would like to understand more about that. So I'm going to ask questions.
You also know who Carl is as a person. How much did he change, though, from sobriety, from old Carl to new Carl? And was it something that you were kind of so at ease with because he did make the commitment of asking you to marry him that you kind of potentially, some people have said, missed certain warning signs? Or even Craig did an interview last year of like, oh, when the season comes out, you're going to see why Carl is, doing what he's doing. And I will say a couple of the first episodes, you guys were in those intense fights and, the sobriety stuff got brought up. And I was like, oh my gosh, this is not great. But as the season played out, I got to see more and more of your perspective on that. But how much has he changed? I mean, you can't speak to it now, but
from like, party Carl to sober Carl, I would say his like social life and levels of, going out and getting fucked up obviously changed. When we started dating, he was working for Loverboy, right?
Yeah.
So he was always working. We weren't living together yet when we started dating. And then I also went sober and stopped drinking for 5 months with him, to give us an even playing field of, okay, if we're really going to do this, we're really going to see if this can work, like, in this real world, then, let's put it on an even playing field. So I did. As far as like him changing personality wise, it
just seems like he's so worried all the time.
I think that he's a very serious person.
Yeah.
I think that and again, I can't speak to him, but like, I'm sure the drugs and alcohol like helped him,
Mask.
feel more like untouchable and free, like he could get away with anything. But yeah, he's actually like a really serious person.
Yeah, and I'm sure like in the first few years of
he's
sobriety,
very serious about a lot of things. Like it's not very light. He's very heavy feeling.
And it seems like even, which is wild, that's the other thing, and Bravo is hitting it out of the park this year with, I know way too much about everybody's sex life. You had to really go into detail about that, and I was like, oh my God, I don't even know if I want to know this, but it seemed like that was another thing where he was like so worried about it.
Listen, I'm not the only one, okay? Like,
no, you're
how
not.
many years has Kyle and Amanda been asked about their sex life? How many years? Like, literally, I'm not joking. Like this, we just watched, Housewives of New York where Jessel was pushed to talk about her sex life. Like, this is not
Ariana
like a
and
new
Tom
thing.
having to talk. No, it's like
Ariana and Tom for years.
Or Jackson Brittany on the Valley.
There you go.
Yeah.
So this is not like a new thing to,
no, but
to reality TV where, especially on our network where we talk about our sex lives.
Completely, but it is just so honest that sometimes that honesty can be like, whoa, and especially I think all of us.
The question was rate your sex life. It wasn't rate Carl's performance. It wasn't rate my performance. It was rate the overall sex life.
And that's Pervy Andrea. That was
That was a part of the game that we were
Yeah.
playing. And I was just like in the kitchen, just casual.
No, you were just like 2.5. It was like,
well,
it was
because
really
I'm just
easy.
like honest. Like,
Yeah.
the one thing about me is I don't exaggerate and I don't lie, like at all. I mean, there's times where I can be a little bit dramatic and emotional and sensitive.
Yeah.
But I don't exaggerate. Like, I don't romanticize stories when they don't need to be romanticized, and I don't lie about my feelings and, things that happen. And I just, at that point in time, like we just weren't having sex.
Yeah.
And I thought that was actually a pretty good rating, given the fact that when you don't even have sex, like how can you rate it?
Wow. It was just, I think because we all bought into, like you did, this kind of fairy tale of best friends into romantic partners, into that's what's so funny about being a Bravo loyalist, is that you go hook, line, and sinker. I'm like, hell yeah, Lindsay and Carl. Oh my God, I'm making the shirts. Let's do this. And then when it breaks down or you find the reality, it's like, yeah, nothing's really a fairy tale. Even the best relationships, even we see like Paige and Craig, they're going through it. Amanda and Kyle, they're definitely going through it.
Right.
We see all sides. So I think it's just really interesting. And that's the best thing about your show. And I don't even know if you can be proud of it because of the pain you're going through, but you get to see all different relationships. We see Sierra and West and the burgeoning of this kind of really cute relationship.
Right. Which is, by the way,
week.
It's like exciting to see Sierra in like, those beginning stages of,
it made me reappreciate who she is.
Right.
And then Paige and Craig, they've got a whole nother thing going on that's very different, where Craig is like, do you love me? Do you love me? Like, it's really fun to see. And then Amanda and Kyle, it's really interesting because if the focus wasn't on you guys, we saw the weeks that you weren't there, they were going through some real issues. And then sometimes it made their relationship stronger when they would watch you guys fight. So we get to see all these different relationships, which makes it great. I'm just curious what you've learned, and if you have, rumor is you're dating somebody now, would you bring them into the summer house and share another relationship on TV?
I don't know. I haven't gotten that far in my thought process of my new relationship. I mean,
do you want to talk it out right now with me? Or?
I mean, yeah, like, no, I'm dating a guy and he's wonderful and incredible. But I don't know. It just all depends. Depends on how he feels. This is my life. This is what I signed up for. Like, I'd have to really like assess if that works for him and have
I just didn't know
serious conversations.
If you got out of this season and said never again, like my heart is my heart.
I mean, listen, I'm gonna be honest with you. I think for 8 seasons, you've seen the ups and downs of every relationship I've been in. You've seen me have a miscarriage. You've seen me, well, not see it, but I was generous enough to share that with the show and therefore the world. You've seen me talk about my family trauma, go through my career and, different clients. You've seen me deal with my friendships and just different traumas. And then most recently, you see me get my entire relationship blown up by my fiance, who in a very humiliating way blindsided me on camera. So I think at this point, like, if I need like a second to keep my romantic relationship to myself, I think maybe like that should be given.
Yeah, exactly. Well, and if you are in a relationship,
because like it's like, well, I'm pretty sure at this point I've made it clear that I stand strong on my own 2 feet and have a lot to offer, and I don't know if I necessarily have to offer my love life to be interesting on TV.
I don't think standing strong is ever going to be your issue. Like even with this, you're standing stronger than I am on my best day. So the interesting thing though is like I write this fan fiction in my head because I'm a psycho, where I'm like, okay, Lindsay goes in the house, and I had talked to Jesse a couple weeks ago, and I was like, will Jesse try to hit on Lindsay? Is that going to happen in the like who's going to hook up with Lindsay in the house?
I will say this, and I've said it before. Like I am done with these reality TV boys. Like that's just not for me.
Good.
It's just not for me. Like you see, I've between Austin, Carl, fucking Johnny Bananas calling paparazzi on me. Like I
bumped into Austin at the fish show at the Sphere a couple weeks ago, and I've ripped Austin a new one. I started.
Oh, I still love Austin. Like, I still think he's,
but you wouldn't
a good friend.
hook up with him in that way ever again.
I've only ever hooked up with the guy once, and everyone like thinks it's been like on and off for 10 years. I'm like, guys.
Yeah, he's attached now to your Wikipedia for the rest of your life.
For the rest of my life.
Okay, with some other things about the summer house that I just would love to get your takes on is that, we all have now Monday morning quarterbacked your relationship with Carl. Do you even take time to think about the other relationships in the house? Like, Kyle and Amanda. And by the way, I really love to see Amanda and Paige, you guys getting along this season. I don't know if that lasts, but it really is nice because I was waiting for Paige to just like drop the hammer on you. And it didn't seem like she did. It seemed like she really kind of understood and empathized.
No, it was nice. I felt like I had a little bit more of a judgment-free zone, and it made me more comfortable to open up.
What do you think about her and Craig's relationship?
I mean, they seem really cute together, and I think to each their own. Like, whatever, if it works for them to be long distance, then it works to them,
Yeah.
Paige and I actually had we went on like a girl date over summer. I don't know if it wound up in the show or not.
I think like a very brief,
like
brief
in
moment.
one of the preview and like the teaser.
It was very
but
brief,
then I don't think that scene ever made it. Anyways, no, we had Paige and I were great this summer, and we had like a lot of discussions about relationships, and I would ask her advice, like, from being the only other girl in a relationship beyond Amanda, who's married, a non-married relationship. I was trying to, just ask her advice and stuff. But if it works for Paige and Craig to do what they're doing, then keep doing it,
I offered this.
Don't fix what's not broken.
Yeah, I offered this to Jesse. I'm offering it to you, but I'm going to actually sweeten it. I'll give you $300 American if you tell me if Wes and Sierra are still dating.
I mean, you need to add like a few zeros to that.
She's shaking her head. Yeah.
What do you take me for?
Oh, listen, I offered Jesse 200.
I'm a businesswoman.
Okay.
$300.
Well, we'll find out soon enough. The other relationship, Kyle and Amanda. Kyle's had so much to say about you and your relationship.
He always does.
And that's really interesting because you guys have always been really close friends, and I don't know where that stands now.
Well, he just always thinks like I'm going around doing this and I'm contriving this and I'm the one who's like making Carl do this, but that's because Carl's like telling all these lies because he can't take, accountability for his own decisions, that he blames everything on me.
Yeah.
So yeah, Kyle can only go off of Carl's, the
information
lies
given.
and fairy tales that he's telling. So yeah, Kyle thinks that like I'm the one who made Carl quit Loverboy. I'm the one who doesn't want Carl to go back to Loverboy, even though whenever Carl talks to me about it, I'm like, okay, and how do you feel about that?
That was the best scene when you were like sitting out there at the party in the spaceman outfit, and he was like, I might have to go back to Loverboy, and you're like, yeah, whatever job works.
No, there was another like Kyle. We had gone to play tennis last summer, and Kyle had mentioned something to me about wanting to hire Carl, and I was like, great. I've been trying to get this guy to get a job. Awesome. If you can give him a job, great. So like, I love how they love to like create these narratives. Like Lindsay hates Loverboy, and Lindsay doesn't want Carl to work for Loverboy, and Lindsay always has it out for Kyle and Loverboy. When I'm always the one who's just like, yeah, great, sure, whatever you want to do, as long as you're making money.
Yeah, I think that's actually, we can see that now. No, I mean, true. But the Kyle thing, I find it interesting. What advice would you give to somebody like Amanda? It seems like Kyle and Amanda, it's positioned on the show that they want kind of, two different things sometimes in life. She wants to go out to Jersey, have a home, raise kids. Kyle's still really pushing full bore for Loverboy because it's a really successful brand and it's going to continue to be. But what advice, what do you see in the future? What advice would you give to Amanda?
I mean, I feel bad for Amanda.
Yeah,
I really do. Watching this season, I feel really bad for her. I think you'll see in episodes coming up why maybe.
I think we've seen it already in the previous episodes this season. It just seems like she.
I don't know what advice. I think that she needs to do whatever makes her happy. Because I think like ultimately at the end of the day, like you have to be happy with yourself in order to be happy with everyone around you. So number one, like it's, obviously when you're in relationships, yes, you want to be selfless and you want to work as a team in a partnership, but ultimately your internal happiness has to be the number one priority. So she, I think, needs to do whatever makes her happy. And then
Yeah.
that'll trickle down for the rest of her relationship.
Where's your internal happiness right now?
I mean, where is it?
Like, I mean, are
Getting
you like
through this
full
reunion
up?
tomorrow, I'll be
so
real
that's
fucking
it.
happy.
But by the way, it's going to be over. Like in less than like 36 hours, it's done.
I know.
What are you going to do after the reunion? Do you already know?
Probably drink a bottle of wine and I don't know.
Like, does it like, are you and Gabby?
Or
is
get
it
some
already
like
planned out?
spicy margaritas.
Oh my
Go to
gosh.
well, that's what we did last year. We went to like a Mexican place and got a bunch of spicy margaritas and tacos. So maybe we'll do that again this year.
Is there any hope?
I think it just depends on how I feel
Yeah.
emotionally. Like if I'm emotionally drained after that, then I'm gonna want to just go home and like see my dude. If not, then I'll go out. It just really depends.
Do you leave any room? I'll do this sometimes if I'm really nervous about something. Do you leave any room that, not that there'll be a reconciliation of any sort, but do you leave any room that potentially maybe, depending on what happens tomorrow, that you and Carl can ever start rebuilding any sort of tiny friendship?
Friendship's a strong word. In this case, I think what he did was completely unforgivable, even as a friend. Like you just don't do that to like your fiance, your partner, but even more than that, you don't do that to your best friend of 8 years. Like I'm not talking about breaking up, calling off the wedding. I'm talking about how he did it was really unforgivable on a friendship level. So I think I can tolerate him. I think even now, like we were just at a wedding in Portugal. Like he's just another dude in the room to me. Like I don't really.
So there's
care.
never a time where he comes up to like, hey, can I have this dance? Like,
Well, what is he
never
gonna say? Small talk?
That's what I was wondering, if you like, or is he just nervously sweating because he's like so nervous that you're there?
Probably. I mean, it's also wasn't like an intimate environment. There's like a lot of people there.
Yeah. Were you nervous in that situation?
No.
Okay. As we start winding down here, I want to say my Patreon, we talk about Summer House all the time, and you've got some really intense, amazing fans in there.
Oh, really?
People that like, even like there, you could do no wrong. Like people, even when like it was like the roughest episodes, they'd be like, no, this is why Lindsay is the like completely right all the time. And it is, it's, so I just want to remind you that you do have such, and I think you already know this, such a great fan base out there, but how do you deal with negativity when it comes to something so personal?
Well, I try to stay off the interwebs.
But
during
a lot of people
those-
say that and then they're just fully on it more. Like, Lala does that all the time. Like, I'm off the internet, and she's completely on it.
No, I distracted myself. Like I wouldn't watch every week. Like I would stack the episodes, right? Because like you're watching every week and then getting anxiety waiting for the next week and then getting anxiety waiting for the next week. Now I know that's how, viewers have to watch it, but like this is my life that I put out there, to be judged. So I would stack the episodes, so like 3 or 4 at a time, and then like binge them. I would try, when it comes to negative comments, I block and delete. Like, I'm just like, get out of my face. Like, if like, I find it to be so weird. Like, I would never go to like any famous person's Instagram and talk shit to them.
No,
Like,
definitely
I
not.
think
No,
it's
I mean,
the
it's-
weirdest thing. And they're keyboard warriors, right? Like, these are people that like, just sit behind a keyboard and want to talk shit because it makes them feel better about their life.
Yeah.
And it's just like, okay, well, you're probably not my person either.
Exactly. 2 last things. Balloon Guy Joe.
Okay, dude, Balloon Guy Joe is hot. Like
He was, but
hot.
even on the after show, they got it brought up though when he changed into his not work clothes.
Right, yeah.
It kind of
he
changed a
definitely
little
was
bit.
like hotter when he was, more manly.
When he
and
was in his
backwards
balloon guy
hat
outfit, yeah.
And like, it was just like his muscles are working overtime, like tying balloons up.
God. Anyway, but Danielle took a lot of heat for Balloon Guy Joe, and I know you're really good friends with Gabby, who I really love, and I hope she comes around next season as well. Danielle has had a real tough go of it through Winter House and then in the past couple of weeks on Summer House. But I will say it has been really nice to see the rekindled friendship you guys have.
Yeah.
And she was on my show a month or 2 ago and was
nice.
like, dude, I am Team Lindsay through.
Yeah.
And this is before we knew where we knew where it was headed, but we didn't know the specifics.
Right.
And I was like, still, even after all of this, even what we're seeing, she's like, I am hands down Team Lindsay. Not that it needs to be teams, but it is really interesting. How How much is that relationship important to you, especially after what happened with Carl?
Yeah, I mean, Danielle and I were rebuilding over summer, right? Like you can tell, you know, we kind of like slowly started getting back into our Danielle and Lindsay groove. And we were like doing really well towards the end of summer. And then when everything happened with Carl, Danielle was phenomenal. And she was an incredible support and friend. And she was there for me. And, you know, she's known Carl for a very long time and a lot of experiences that I was opening up about that I didn't open up about to anybody else, including the show. Danielle has had some of those experiences with Carl as well. So
yeah,
I think that, you know, she can relate to a certain degree, you know, having had dated Carl for like a month or two. And then also, she was an incredible friend and support after everything happened.
It was great to actually watch that. Okay, I got to wrap this up, unfortunately. I wish it was like a 3-hour, but you have to prepare for a reunion tomorrow. I do also want to point out to the audience that Lindsay did not need to do this. She's a really stand-up person, and I've been wanting to interview her in person for so long, and she's the one that made this happen. She did not need to do this, so thank you. That's not lost on me.
No, I'm happy that you came to New York.
Yeah. Did you still want everything that you wanted before? Do you still want marriage? Do you still want kids?
Oh my God, of course. Listen, this guy, like, you know, he wasted 2 years of my life. Those were pretty critical years. Like they weren't going to be wasted years if everything worked out, and it didn't work out, and that's fine because honestly, looking back, thank God.
Yeah, that's the other thing too.
But those years were critical years, and I could have spent them with a more suitable person, right? Especially 35 to 37. Those are like,
yeah.
Those are like, that's critical on my eggs. The downhill of the eggs.
Will
right?
there be a Summer House spinoff just about your eggs? Will
there should be. I mean, who knows?
By the way, TikTok is on fire right now, speculating about you and your eggs.
They're always speculating about me in some way or another.
Yeah.
2 years ago, they were speculating the same fucking things. You know, when I started dating Carl 2.5 years ago and was sober, not drinking for 5 months.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah.
So, Lindsay Hubbard, thank you. Really such a fantastic season of TV, even though it's at the cost of your heart.
Yeah, no, thank you, by the way, for making that note at the end. Because most people just come up to me and they're like, this is the best season. I'm like, oh, cool. I'm glad you like it.
I feel so guilty every time I say it because I'm like, this is so weird that you guys finally found this weird combination that actually works with the new cast members.
No, like it really is like the perfect formula. It's just, you know, it's unfortunately for me to the detriment of my actual life.
Well, next year it might be Amanda and Kyle, so we'll see what happens. But
oh, Lord.
I'm joking.
Let's not manifest that one.
How do we find out all thing Lindsay? I know Instagram, obviously, but if we want to go to Nashville and rent Hub House, how do we even do that?
You know, Lynn's Hub's on Instagram. And then if you want to rent my house in Nashville, go to hubhousenashville.com. And that's Hub with 2 B's because, you know, last name Hub.
Oh, I got it.
hubhousenashville.com if you want to rent my house.
Lindsay Hubbard, ladies and gentlemen, this was big for me. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Ryan Bailey.